Without further ado, I will hand over to Sriman Hemant Prabhu in Seattle. And Prabhu, you have 30 minutes to glorify Srila Gurudev, however you'd like to do it. And we're very grateful for your agreement to participate in this show. Thank you so much. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Om Jnana-timrandasya Jnananjanan Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Gosvami Namine. Hare Krishna, devotees, Hare Krishna, everyone. We came to Srila Gurudev because of Sripad Ramchandra Prabhu. So first we met Srila Ramchandra Prabhu, Sripad Ramchandra Prabhu from Delhi, Janakpuri Mutt. He was visiting one of our cousin in Vancouver, and since cousin is related to ISKCON, so he just invited us and his sister, one of his sister, and we were just 3 people. We have been going to ISKCON for a few years, but when we heard Sripad Ramchandra Prabhu, our heart really connected, really melted, and the desire right away developed that if somebody's disciple is that advanced, how will that guru be? And so we hosted him a few times, and then in 2007 we have Sripad Ramchandra Prabhu for generally 2 weeks in Vancouver. We were in Vancouver at those days, Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And we knew, Ramchandra Prabhu told us that Srila Gurudev's program is generally every year in Badger and things like that. And since we hosted Ramchandra Prabhu at our home, we generally used to have 3 programs a day. Morning program for advanced level, middle program for the kids, and then evening programs for general everyone. So we were very tired, very tired. After dropping Ramchandra Prabhu to airport, I came home and I just went to the bed. But my dear wife, she says, no, we have to go to see Srila Gurudev, because Srila Gurudev came in her dream a night before and says to her that, Beti, I'm waiting for you. But I was very tired, and I'm like, I can't drive, because we were 5 people. We haven't booked the ticket. We haven't booked anything. We didn't know. We didn't have any plan, but she just said, we have to drive. And it's like almost 20+ hour drive from Vancouver to Badger or San Francisco, because the first program was in San Francisco. So she says, if you're not going, I'm going. I'm taking the kids and driving. Our kids were very small at those days, like probably 4 or 5 year old. So anyhow, we had to go. So we sat in the car and we started to drive. It's almost 20-hour drive to San Francisco. We reach San Francisco just before the program start to happen. Like I think Gurudev program was in somewhere in a big hall. I have never ever seen in my life, even though I grew up in India, but I've never ever, we were not religious or we were not spiritual. I never ever seen that kind of a thing. Like there was orange clothes, like there was a big stage and there was a lot of orange cloth sannyasis. We have only hosted Ramchandra Prabhu before, so we didn't know much about the Vaishnava system. So there was a lot of sannyasis with trident on the stage, and then Srila Gurudev was there, and then Srila Gurudev was sitting a little bit higher up on a Vyasasana. And I was like, there was almost 2,000 people probably on that hall. I was very back, very much back, like, because we were very new. This was our first, very, very first introduction to Krishna conscious.
Srila Gurudeva was already sitting on the stage.
So I was in a very back, and I'm not kidding you. I felt something blue coming, emanating from the stage. And it's like probably good couple of 100 feet, because from the stage in between 2,000 people, and I was very back at the corner. I saw some blue thing coming from the stage, some blue light, some blue thing coming from the stage and pinching my heart deeply. Undescribable moment. Then a moment later, Srimati Lola Devi, who is from Vancouver, came to us. She somehow found us at the very back, and she says, Gurudev is calling you. We didn't tell Gurudev that we are coming. We didn't have any plan. And so we went to the stage, and Srila Gurudev said, I was waiting for you. You came. You speak.
So we heard Srila Gurudev first through our ears. I think we came to know Srila Gurudev first through our ears. The glorification that we had heard from Srimad Ramchandra Prabhu was so much that it was always had this desire in our ear and say, huh, really? Really? He can do that? He can do that? So how we hear so many times in Harikatha that Krishna is no different than Krishna's name. I think our Srila Gurudev is also no different than his name. His glorification, his manifestation was so much beautiful that he had accepted us as his disciple just by giving us some Harikatha, through his traveling preachers. That desire to meet him was so great that we did not think of anything. And I said, well, we have to go and get his darshan, like now. We packed our bags, drove to San Francisco, and Srila Gurudev immediately, called Hemant Prabhu on the stage, and we were sort of, his mother was there and our two kids and myself, we all went to the stage, and he kept on patting him on his head like this the entire time. It was just so touching. It was just so loving relationship, even though he was in such a big crowd and we had heard so much about him. There was no awe and reverence at that time. It was just a father loving his children, so much. He made such excellent arrangements for us to come stay with him at the...
So we haven't booked anything. We didn't know where the program is and where everything is. So he said, do you know where you're going to stay? I'm like, no, Gurudev, we haven't done anything. So he says, we are staying at so-and-so place. See if you can find a room close by. So after that, we were in the stage for a few minutes, like probably 5-10 minutes, and Gurudev loved us so much. So we went down and we got the number from some devotee for the hotel where Gurudev was staying. So we called that hotel, and of course, they were fully booked because Srila Gurudev was staying and there were a lot of devotees from everywhere. So we picked up the yellow pages. We called, like it took me a couple of hours. We called every place and everywhere was booked. It's a weekend and everywhere was fully booked. I have no idea what happened. Somehow I called that hotel back again. And at that time, I was not from Seattle. I was from Vancouver. I didn't know much about Seattle. But somehow Gurudev manifested this Leela that I called that hotel back again. And I said, I'm John from Seattle, and you have a room booked for us. And the girl says, yes, yes, yes. My manager told me that there's another hotel owner from Seattle is coming, and we have a room booked for you in this hotel. The only thing is that is a suite. It's a 3-bedroom suite. Just one bathroom is broken, so please don't use that bathroom. And we have given you a very special rate of only $75. It was over $500 room, and she gave us just for $75. So we took that room, we went, and now the Gurudev is manifesting so much Leela that, I was pretty desperate. Where is going to be Gurudev? Which is going to be his room? It was night time. So I was just standing outside the room. I didn't even go inside. They were unpacking and everything. I'm like, I need to see where Gurudev is staying and things like that. So then I saw in the night few people walking, and that was, I think, Madhav Maharajji, Brajnath Prabhu, and a couple of other devotees who were walking night walk after the prasada. So then I pay my obeisances, and then they said, oh, you got the room? We say yes. And then I came back to the room. We got a call from Gurudev's room, in our room, because I told them that we are staying in this room. And then we got a call that Gurudev wants you to come in the morning to his room for breakfast. And we go for morning walk if you want to join morning walk. I didn't know what morning walk is and things like that. So we barely got any sleep, and I was very excited and very desperate and things like that. So we went for morning walk, and then again, Gurudev is loving with, oh, aapko room mil gaya. Like in Hindi, he started speaking with me in Hindi with so many loving exchange that comfortable, you sleep comfortably. How's your mother? How's your family? And did everybody got a chance? And I just said, we got a room just across. So after that, we went for morning. Actually, that day was Father's Day. All the guys went for morning walk. Nobody remembered to wish Gurudev Happy Father's Day. We came back, like there was question and answer going and this and that, but nobody wished Gurudev Happy Father's Day. All the guys. We came back, and so many hundreds of ladies in front of Gurudev room with flowers, with something. And then they all wished Gurudev Happy Father's Day. And Gurudev says, these are my daughters. These are my darling daughters. They remember. So Gurudev distribute sweets to everyone. So he gave sweets to his daughters first. He says, they are my best. They're the best daughters. And he was glorifying his daughters beautifully. Like Shamanani Didi was there, and so many senior daughters were there. So after that, there was a time of massage. We came to know that there's a massage happens at around 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock, and around this tree and this and that. I didn't want to go inside my room, and Madhav Maharaj shooed everyone away that go. So there was only few people, 3-4 people who supposed to do the massage stayed there. I hid behind a tree. And Gurudev came in his gamcha and sat down on the massage table. And I desperately wanted to touch his feet and massage his feet. So Madhav Maharajji, Pujapad Madhav Maharajji saw me probably from the far, and he saw me behind the tree hidden. So he called me. He says, do you want to? I says, yes. And then he asked somebody who was supposed to do the Gurudev feet massage that go and check how the temperature in his shower and room temperature where he's going to take the shower and things like that. So then I went to touch Gurudev feet. And as soon as I touched Gurudev feet, Gurudev looked at me like this at the back. And he says, Kabhi massage kari hai? Have you ever done any massage? I said, yes, Gurudev. Who? I said, my grandmother and my father, because when we were growing up, it's an Indian custom that, you massage your parents, and especially grandparents. So Gurudev says, oh, very good, very good. And then, that's a sweet exchange. Another Gurudev Srila, and then I'll just hold off here because we don't have much time, is now the hotel owner came to know that we lied, basically, and he says, oh, sorry, you cannot get another night room. And so now we didn't know what to do. And there's a festival in Badger after that day. Next day onwards, there was a festival in Badger. We have no transportation, we have our car, but we haven't booked the room, and we are Indian, spoiled Indians, so we cannot do camping. There's only in Badger, either there's a small hotel or somewhere close by that was fully booked. There's no place to stay, and we cannot do floor camping, the hardship. So we started thinking what to do. Now we have to go to Badger. So at those days, Craigslist was very popular. So somehow Gurudev manifested this Leela in my heart that I've never stayed in RV also, like RV before and things like that. Somehow something came in my heart that we should look for RV rental. So I started looking on Craigslist, and I found a person that I cannot drive. Like Badger drive is a very difficult drive. It's I'm not used to those typical. So the guy agreed that he was very familiar with Badger. So he says, I will drive my RV, I will park there, and then once once your 7-day spiritual retreat will finish, I will come and pick up, and then you pay me. So I haven't paid him. Somehow I found on Craigslist, Gurudev arranged so mercifully, because he knew we are spoiled, we cannot do the hardship. So he arranged a beautiful 36, a big RV. Somebody drove it for us to Badger from San Francisco. He parked it there, and a very reasonable amount for 7 days. So Gurudev arranged so many things so beautifully that he is always looking after his devotees. You know how we say that Guru does so much for their devotees. Gurudev did so much for us on this very first of his darshan. And just one more thing, and then I'll pass to Mansi, Radha Priya. And then now we reached there, and Gurudev came a day after to Badger, and I was like trying to in front of Gurudev's room. I was just standing near the kitchen, and then Vrinda Didi saw me because I was there for a few hours trying to see if I can figure it out where Gurudev is and things like that. So Vrinda Didi called me. She says, do you know how to make paratha, roti, atta, all these things? I says, yes, I know. I was not initiated. I was not taken Harinam or anything. And so from the day one, I was in Gurudev's kitchen making chapatis and paratha. And I was allowed inside the Gurudev's room. And when Gurudev saw me, he says, have you taken Harinam? I says, no. Do you want to take Harinam? I says, no. And he says, come tomorrow morning. I thought he's calling me again for breakfast. in the morning. So we went there, and Gurudev gave us very mercifully the Harinam and Gopal Mantra. And now I pass the phone to Radha Priya.
I think this entire year with Gurudev's celebration has just been so heartwarming and so eye-opening. For me, Srila Gurudev was my father, and I was like, he loves me the most of everyone. And hearing his glorification from so many, we watch so many Zoom Harikatha where devotees come and glorify him, and everybody has the same things to say about him, that Srila Gurudev loved them the most. I think he was really the manifestation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's love and affection, because he showered love to everyone equally. Everybody, even if they met him for 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 years, 5 days, everybody felt love towards him so much. He would always call me Beti, and would always, affectionately, just give me so much love. In 2007, the very first time we met him, we were, as Hemant said, we were going to ISKCON a couple of years before, but honestly, just for prasad, Sunday, every now and then we'll be like, oh, I don't want to cook Sunday. Oh, let's go to the temple and eat food. I think that was our only,
Kirtan.
yeah, and yes, and we liked Kirtan, but we weren't interested in any Harikatha. So Srila Gurudev, mercifully pulled us towards him, gave us Harinam, and then there was a Canadian darshan time, and we said, Srila Gurudev, we want to host you. Just something, we were both born in Indian homes. We can call ourselves probably Vaishnavas because we were not eating meat, no onion, garlic, and worshipping either, Durga ji, Ram ji for material benefit, benedictions, nothing to do with spirituality. That's how just like an average Hindu Indian sort of grows up. So all this was like completely new. Never heard the name of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Nityananda Prabhu ever in our lives, even though we knew a lot about demigods. And
not a lot, but we had a mixed conception.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't know who God was really. So Srila Gurudev, in 2007, we said, we want to host you. And
we said, Gurudev, please come to Vancouver.
So we would really like to serve you. Can you come to our home? And he said, yes, I will come next year. And the entire room sort of fell silent because nobody had expected these two newbies to be, because Srila Gurudev was really, he wasn't, by that time it was so difficult to get Gurudev's darshan that you had to like constantly be like waiting for hours in line to get those darshan. And Srila Gurudev blessed us with that blessing with the entire Vancouver Sangha. We were a few of us there, and we were so happy that Srila Gurudev said, we're going to come and stay with you in 2008. So in 2008, in April, Srila Gurudev came and stayed with us for 5 days in our home. We didn't know how to worship and how to welcome a pure Mahabhagavat. Probably didn't even know he was like an Uttam Mahabhagavat at the time.
We didn't know what Uttam
but he traveled with his entire devotees, and Vrinda Didi, Brajnath Prabhu, Madhu Maharaj, Ramchandra Prabhu, Achyunanda Prabhu, Madhurat Prabhu. We had like a 3-bedroom apartment in Vancouver, and he came and he stayed with us over there.
I think in 3-bedroom apartment, we were 15 of us living in the same 3-bedroom apartment.
So
those were the best days.
The devotees organized everything. The devotees, the entire balcony was converted to like a to like a refrigerator, like a bhoga place where we just kept all the prasad. Srila Gurudev gave lectures in 2 temples that year. We got to hear some Harikatha from him, got to cook something for him. He asked me that he really enjoyed dal puri, and he said, can you make it? And I didn't know what that was. And he's like, oh, really? You don't know how to make dal puris? Go and learn it from Houston Didis and then come and cook for me. I didn't get an opportunity to cook for him while he was, manifesting with our eyes in this world. But ever since then, I've offered it to him a couple of times, learned how to make it. But he truly enjoyed, idlis, aloo paratha. He would say, give me this much aloo and just this little paratha, dough. So he one day, everybody had gone for the fire sacrifice yag the last day, and I realized, I hadn't, because he was in the room, I didn't know if I could enter the room or not. So we sort of stayed away. Whenever he came out for darshan, that's when we met him. So the last day, no one was in the house. It was just Mother Maharaj, myself, and Srila Gurudev. And I told Mother Maharaj, I said, well, can I get his darshan? And he's like, well, it's your home. You can walk into his room whenever you want. And I'm like, now you tell me that? You didn't tell me that on day one. So I went to his room and he was writing something. And I said, Gurudev, I want to talk to you. I really didn't get a chance to speak to you. And he said, I'm writing this book and I will leave one day, but these books of mine will stay here forever. And who can argue with such logic? You're like, yes, Srila Gurudev is going to be staying here in his book forms forever. So I left the room and came out back into the kitchen for kitchen seva. And after 5 minutes, I see him walk out and come and sit on a massage chair. We had like a massage chair for him. And he called me from the kitchen and he said, come sit down. And I was so much indebted to him. I was like, well, he's leaving such important seva just to come and fulfill my desire to have some conversation with him. He was just so merciful. Half the time in my brain, I try and recall that conversation, and I was just so shaky. I was like, oh my God, he came out. Oh my God, he came out. And just a minute jiva soul like ours. And he was so merciful and always trying to fulfill our desires in serving him. It was, I wish we had known a little bit more. I wish we were able to serve him a little bit better. But I guess we are very thankful for the mercy that he's given us. Every year we decided we were going to see him at least once a year. Now we think back and we went to Badger. 2008, we saw him in Houston. 2009, we saw him. 2008, he came to Vancouver. Hemant went again to see him in Alachua. 2009, we went to see him in Houston, and 2010, we went to see him in Badger. And then Hemant went 2010 when he was doing his Aswastha-lila.
So when Gurudev was doing Aswastha-lila, she forced me to go, and I did. Thankfully, went to India. Govardhan spent 2 weeks with Gurudev in Govardhan when he was performing Aswastha-lila, and very grateful to Madha Priya Prabhu and Krishna Kripa Prabhu, who is now Siddhanti Maharaj Ji, and all the other devotees, that somehow Gurudev again manifested some Leela, that it was a very difficult time. Nobody was entering his room, but I got to enter and do some personal seva for Srila Gurudev in his room. And I was for 2 weeks, whatever 2 weeks I was there in India, I was in his room with Srila Gurudev in Govardhan Math. And I've never been to Kartik Parikrama, and that was the time when Kartik Parikrama was happening. And Srila Gurudev asked me, he says, have you done Kartik Parikrama before? I says, no. And I did not want to leave the room because I know how difficult it was to get into the room. And Gurudev told me, you have to go and do Kartik Parikrama. And I'm like, had my head down, and I'm like, I don't want to go. I don't want to leave you alone. I don't want to leave this room. And Gurudev says, don't worry, they will let you enter. So you do parikrama in the morning. When you come back, take a shower and change the clothes, and then come back, and they will let you enter to the room. So they did let me enter to the room. They did give me some seva, personal seva, and I was very grateful for all the devotees that especially grateful to Radha Priya, who forced me to go. And I went and spent time, and at that time we didn't realize what Sattvic Bhav is and what all these things is. But now, since some time happened, some maturity came, we learn about all these things. So I've been remembering those pastime, Aswasthalila pastime. So there were days, not just hours, days that Gurudev used to have some kind of a foam come from his mouth, and his sevakas, Madhapriya Prabhu, Krishna Kripa Prabhu, Sanjay Prabhu, they used to put fingers in his mouth and take this foam out. And it was days and days and days, those foams were coming out, tears were coming out, and non-stop tears. It was just beautiful pastimes, and so personal that I saw how these sevaks are completely dedicated, and how Gurudev is completely surrendered to them. They were just picking up Gurudev in their hand. So beautiful. It was just very amazing. Gurudev Leelas are, and we are just grateful to all our Sangha, to Srila Gurudev especially, that somehow they made us capable to get the association of such a pure Mahabhagavad. We were not born into, this ISKCON or Gaudiya Mats or Vaishnava culture, but somehow he manifested so many things in our heart, and Gurudev literally fought for us in 2007, because the Gurudev whole year program was pre-planned, and there was no program for Vancouver that year. Like, Gurudev has no plan to come to Vancouver, but Gurudev says, I promised Hemant that I am going to see Hemant, so I am going there. And Prabhuji, like his sevaks, were saying, no, there is no plan for Vancouver. The next year, the plan is Montreal, because in that room, there was literally 90% of Montreal Sangha, and we were like just few devotees from Vancouver. And Gurudev says, no, I promised Hemant that I'm going to Vancouver, so make it happen. So I'm so grateful for Srila Gurudev to come into our life and, pick us up and made us, and continue to bless us for this seva. I don't know, Prabhuji, how much time do we still have? Or
I've been online with your wife letting her know, because she was concerned about that. No, you've got plenty of time. You've got another 19 minutes, but either fill that up, or I can ask you questions. Just let it naturally flow, or if you want to finish early, whatever's natural for you guys.
We'll definitely answer. We do have some other, stories, pastimes.
We have a lot of Srila Gurudev's pastime, so we can go on. Or
if you have something that you want to ask.
Can I ask you one question that came in actually from a devotee who used to live on the West Coast, Karuna Mai? She's now in London. We're very fortunate to have her association now in London. A definite addition to our Sangha. And she said that you organized a wonderful festival in Vancouver, and Gurudev stayed with you in Vancouver, and she wanted you to expand on that a bit, because she said it was a very, very special and beautiful seva. From what I can see, you're probably shy to expand on your own virtues, but maybe if somehow you can give us a sense of Gurudev's presence in Vancouver when you organize that. I think
Prabhuji, I'm telling you, to all my devotees, friends here, and I'm telling you, we have no capabilities, we have no experience. Gurudev arranged, planned, and did everything. We did not do anything. All we did is open the house and provide the space. But Gurudev, we never hosted a Vaishnav before, like Gurudev level. Like, we always hosted Ramchandra Prabhu, but Ramchandra Prabhu is in white cloth, very simple guy. Like, so it was very different. And when Gurudev came, like, it was an amazing, beautiful experience.
Host a sannyasi than it is to host a white cloth, sort of Prabhuji, rather than, a Maharaji sort of. But honestly, it is the entire Vancouver Sangha that we really got together. And Karunamai Didi, we learned so much, not just from Srila Gurudev, but also us together at the devotees. We met her a few years ago, and we were in the same apartment, and she came to visit us. And the first thing she did was pay obeisances to the place. And she was telling her daughter, hey, this place is like Dham. Srila Gurudev came and stayed here. And, that little sentence was just so eye-opening for us, because we were, in the home. Yes, we knew that Srila Gurudev came there, but it wasn't, I didn't think of it like that. So it's not just Srila Gurudev, it's Srila Gurudev who expands himself and tells these devotees to teach us how to respect and how to remember him. So I'm forever grateful to Karunamai Didi, because she opened my eyes to it. Every time now when I go there, the first thing I do, that bed is no longer there. We no longer, live there. It is a rented house right now because we moved to Seattle. And quite frankly, when 2000, it was a very expensive place to live. Sure, we lived there for like a year, from when we got Harinam till the time Srila Gurudev visited us, and then we had to leave because it was too expensive for us to live there.
The whole market went down in 2008. We lost a business, and
there were some financial, it is sad when you take Diksha or Harinam, maybe some churn comes in your life. And we experienced some churn materially, but it did, since we were sort of out of work, it did give us more opportunity to spend some more time in bhakti. So in 2008, when Srila Gurudev came, the Sangha organized, 2 programs, but Srila Gurudev was there for 5 days. So one day he went to individual other devotees' home, giving them blessings in their homes when they welcomed him, for a few hours, said a little bit of Harikatha. But I did realize that, not everybody could come in, for darshan all the time. So there was this, just a regular person, who called me, got my number, and said she wanted to come and get darshan. And, I kept on looking at Madhav Maharaj said no. And this guy was on phone with me for like good 20 minutes. I kept on saying no. Madhav Maharaj kept on walking back and forth and said, no, he's not meeting. After 20 minutes, he said, okay, give them this time. And, Srila Gurudev met with him, gave him darshan. And I realized that there is the mercy will come. We have to endeavor a little bit more. So Srila Gurudev would give darshan. So many Vancouver Sangha people could just come in, it wasn't so much, but they were also so busy, cooking for the big program and things like that. But we could not have hosted Srila Gurudev at that time without the entire community being with us. Yes, Srila Gurudev did stay with us, but his entire program was successful because of our Sangha. All of us pooled resources, both in terms of times and money, and we were able to host him. He was there in April, and April there is no snow usually.
And it is snowing. If you see outside, it is snowing. It's reminding us of 2008 when Gurudev came.
So in Seattle, we don't get that much snow, but in April that time, Srila Gurudev was finishing his Harikatha in Surrey Temple, and we were driving back to Vancouver, and it started snowing pretty decently, like big flakes. It wasn't sticking so much, but the flakes were big. So I told Srila Gurudev when we reached home, we were like, oh my God, we want to reach home first, driving conditions and all that. When we reached home, I told Srila Gurudev that, well, see, the devatas are welcoming you. They're showering you with flowers, and he laughed so much. He and I had this relationship where I could say anything to him, and it was there was no awe and reverence. Sort of, he just treated me like a daughter. He had, different devotees did Guru Puja, worshipped his feet. We got some nectar from their Mahaprasad, and I didn't know I could do that because we were not initiated full Diksha mantra. We'd gotten just Harinam up till now. So
we didn't even know. We didn't even know.
We didn't
Shri Guru
even
Charan
know
Padma.
Shri Guru Charan Padma. So the devotees, I told Maharaja, I said, I want to worship his feet. Other devotees got to do it. And he said, yeah, well, you can do it. You didn't ask me. And I said, oh my God, I'm sorry. I didn't even know what to ask. And that's the unfortunate thing, is you don't even know what mercy to ask for sometimes. So, he told me what to get, and I got all that, and I started washing his feet. And all of a sudden, so many other devotees come in the room. Somebody brings a mridanga, and somebody starts playing this bhajan, Shri Guru Charana Padma. I'd never really probably heard it before, didn't know it at that time. And just naturally, tears started flowing out of both of our eyes. And I'm a pretty hard-hearted person, I don't cry easy. And it was just so merciful. It was just so, we don't have words to describe it, but there is that love and affection that happens when you touch Srila Gurudev's feet, that all your hard-hearted heart, it can melt stones pretty much. That's why that bhajan is so precious to me, because I didn't understand the words, but I knew something really precious was being sung. So, our Vancouver Sangha, we're just so fortunate, because if they were not there, nobody would have taught us anything. Nobody would have given us the opportunity to serve. Srila Gurudev would not have come if it was not for the love of that Sangha. And he was so excited for Harikatha. So one day, our Harikatha program was like, Purnamai Didi can correct me, but it was like 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, and everybody would take rest, during the afternoons. So it was 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock at that time. Madhu Maharaj would sit like right next to Srila Gurudev's sleep on the floor, so that Srila Gurudev would have to probably cross him like that in order to come out. Everybody else was like sleeping in the entire home. And I was in the kitchen, and Srila Gurudev, and I see some steps in the gallery, and I come out right away, and I see Srila Gurudev coming right out of the room, and everybody else is sleeping. And he's like, why is everybody sleeping? Is there no program happening right now? And I'm like, Srila Gurudev, it's just 3 o'clock. We still have time to get ready and go. It's not that far. And Madhu Maharaj gets up and comes in. But that desire to speak Harikatha and not to waste any time for it was just so apparent. He was like just so strict and sincere and upset. And it's like, we have to go and speak Harikatha. Why is everybody not up and ready? And that was such a beautiful expression to see, that he had so much desire to speak Harikatha. It was just beautiful. Everybody got up right away. Nobody didn't care about the time, because Srila Gurudev was up, nap time was over, and the entire house was like bustling with activity all again, because, Srila Gurudev was like, let's get ready. And, he was so punctual for time. He wanted to make sure there was no Indian standard time with him. How we say Indians are like always running late, but he's like, time is of the essence. So I think that's our time right now.
I have a couple of special things to say.
Time.
Just a couple of special things. Forgive me for that. In 2010,
before you say that, I just wanted to comment before we lose the thread of what you just so beautifully said about being unqualified to host Gurudev. And I think it's very instructive for everybody who watches this, because it's something I feel all the time as well in any seva I currently do or have ever done. And I think the key question is, because there are a lot of people that are either shy to come forth to do seva, or they may be shy to come on Zoom, or whatever the situation is in their own lives, they're shy, they're reticent, they don't think they're qualified. But it's a really very simple conversation that we all need to have in our hearts. The Gurudev taught us is that we're not qualified. In fact, there was one story when Srila Gurudev met a potential disciple who was telling him, oh, I chant my rounds, I do this, I do that. And Srila Gurudev said, well, you don't need me then as a guru, you're doing everything. So he kind of wanted the rascals, he wanted the unqualified. And all we have to remember very simply is Gurudev is qualified. He's qualified to invest in us, to give us, to bestow us the mercy, so that our seed of our bhakti can really ripen and sprout and ripen. And if we just remember that he's qualified to give us the mercy, we don't need to worry about our own qualification. I just wanted to draw that out of what you just said, because I feel that everything you encapsulated, responding to Kurudamai's question, really oozed that mood. And I think that's relevant for all of us. So thank you. Please carry on.
So just two very important instruction in 2010. Gurudev was not speaking much. And since I was in the room, I was able to communicate a little bit. And so Gurudev said, which I only realized, I'm telling you, Prabhuji, by folding my hands, that only this year I realized, like, even though he said those things in 2010, Gurudev said, like, I asked Gurudev, of course, everybody asked, but I also asked that after you, what are we going to do? So Gurudev said, anybody who has done my Sangha, my association, for even few moments, even for 6 months, they will be way more qualified. Like, he was pointing to all these sevakas in his room and everybody, and he says they are more qualified than any Sangha, like anybody in the world, like any Vaishnava association is like, he says these are so qualified, you can follow anyone. And that's what I realize now, that our Sanjay Prabhu, Mother Priya Prabhu, Maharaji, Ramchandra Prabhu, all these people are so qualified. So you can associate with anyone who your heart desire. And the second thing is, one day he was a little bit upset with someone about some seva. He's been asking about some book seva or something, and he was like, nobody's taking me seriously. Gurudev words, nobody's taking me seriously. What I came to give, nobody is taking it seriously. They will all realize after 10 years. Gurudev said exactly in 2010, after 10 years, they will understand, everybody will understand what I came to give, what my glories are, what I really wanted to give. Everybody will realize. And then when this 2020 COVID hits and Gurudev's essential, and you started doing this seva, then Prabhuji from Delhi started doing this Gurudev Madhuri Smritiya, and then so many beautiful jewels started to speak about Srila Gurudev and what is happening, and Zoom connected us all. So this literally the entire world is coming to know how Gurudev did, like what Gurudev contribution is and what Gurudev came to give. It's not every acharya or everybody. It's a very special thing what Gurudev came to give. Vancha kalpatarubhasya kripa sindhu vaivacha patita nam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo.
Beautiful. That was such a beautiful glorification. I just realized we have 3 couples today, because not only do we have both of you and then Kalimba and Radhanath Prabhu, but we opening and closing with Nihari and Baba Tarini. So this must be the Grihastra couple, America, and it's all America as well. It happened in great synchronicity. I mean, there's so much I could say. One thing I wanted to say that you said, Didi, was that you said he was your father, and I wanted to. What I got from you is actually he is your father. It's the present tense, and that beautiful quote he has, which is, "I'm closer to you than the air that I breathe." Sorry, I'm closer to you than the air that you breathe. And that beautiful picture that goes with that really evokes that spirit, which when you said was, I knew you meant is, because I could feel it in your heart.
Thank you.
And I wanted to bring that out because in many ways, I mean, I was very fortunate to have a lot of Vapu association with Srila Gurudev, but actually, personally, I feel that my relationship with him has gotten much closer after his disappearance, because the Vani, partly because the Vani was accentuated, because there wasn't that Vapu dependence. And secondly, something that Prabhu was saying, which is actually you're both saying, which was that the Sangha brings you close to Srila Gurudev. So the combination of the two and that's the amazing thing about once you've connected with Srila Gurudev, you're connected to that river of Parampara. You're connected to that Hradini Shakti that is like this infinite iceberg of water just waiting to melt down into the river of love through your heart, through the Hradini Shakti, to flow out in the most dynamic way into the ocean of of Radha Krishna praying. You could just feel that you're connected to that. And I feel that you really encapsulated that. Just humorously, I'm not very good on my Indian food, but you mentioned about him having dal puris. I seem to remember there's a story, because that's pretty fried stuff, right?
No. This is a Bihari.
Yeah.
This is from a Bihar. It's a chana dal. Chana dal. You put it in the.
It's like a aloo paratha, but with chana dal. Now I know.
Okay.
Yes,
So you
yes.
didn't give it, because there's certain foodstuffs where there'd be wonderful play between him and Madhav Maharaj,
Right.
where Madhav Maharaj would be telling him, you can't eat that.
Yeah,
And then Madhav Maharaj would go out of the room and Gurudev would steal a couple and then pretend nothing happened.
There are a few Gurudev's, food leelas, but Mother Maharaj would give him, he really liked arad ki dal. He liked idlis a lot. So I did get an opportunity. Dhokla, aloo parathas, he really enjoyed. And dal puris, he did ask me to make, but I didn't know how to make them at that time. But ever since then, I've learned to, now I can offer it to him, and no restrictions from Madhu Maharaj at this time.
No, that's beautiful. No, the restrictions make it all more relishable. It's kind of like it's Leela, where you have to have the bitter and the sweet and the sour and the it's beautiful. One other thing I wanted to mention before we move on to our next beautiful devotees in California is that you mentioned, Prabhu, you were hinting at how Gurudev's instructions, they last for a lifetime, they change over a lifetime. I really resonate with that. Like all the instructions Gurudev has given me, and I wrote them down just in case I could forget them, which I can't. It's just amazing how he'll give you the instruction in my case, say in 1996, and it's the same instruction, yet it changes in the way I externally express it year by year. And you look back over 20, 25 years, and you're like, wow, how does he do that? I mean, just that Mahabhagavad potency, that insight, and that although we're all sharing the same perspective, each one of us is different because he was able to give us all the same principles, yet somehow put the medicine into us slightly differently that was perfect for us. And this is his extraordinary quality, and yet had so many disciples. So like he had so many disciples, and is able to give everything in such a bespoke, perfect way. I mean, it helps that he can come in our dreams as well, so he can manifest himself, which is how you open the whole presentation. So thank you so much. I feel like I've got to know you better, and you glorified Gurudev absolutely beautifully in a really nice way of kind of combining Vapu and Vani together. Very, very personal. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for giving us the opportunity. Haribol.